everyone! Yarn Talk number 2 is about to go down in the books. Thank you so much for everyone who watched episode number 1. I was so scared to put that out there, but it was watched several times, so I'm hoping I can continue sharing about my fiber endeavors. I am calling it fiber endeavors because Yarn Talk is actually just narrowing it in too much. I am also sewing, and so why shouldn't I share knitting, sewing, crocheting, all the things that I do except paper crafting, paper creating. I'm doing this. I don't like it, but that's okay. The first thing I wanted to do today is share who the winner of this knitting pouch is. It is a wee bra bag. I hope that is how you pronounce it. It is closes like that, and I made it myself. I have lots of them. I love sewing, and I want to make more, and instead of selling them, I'm just going to give this one away to the winner, anachonedesigns. I hope I pronounced that right. Please send me an email or a message. I don't know if you can send messages through YouTube. You can send me a DM through Instagram. Send me an email, totally fine. Tell me that who you are and that you won this pouch, and I will get it in the mail to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for commenting. My name is Seemownay. I am a YouTuber. I love sharing, planning things, scrapbooking, journaling, and just recently started sharing all about my knitting and crocheting as well as sewing endeavors. You can find me on Instagram as Seemownay as well as Ravelry. I'm Seemownay there as well. And here on YouTube as Seemownay. This is episode number 2, and guess what? I do not have any finished knitting objects. I do, however, have a sewing object that I finished, and I am so proud of it. Let me get it here and show you part of what it is. I guess it's too big to be shown, but I will stand up and show you. This quilt is called the Prism quilt, the pattern. I used Anna Maria Horner fabric. I think that was her very first line. Let me just show you the back, and then I'll sit back down and talk to you eye to eye. All of the fabric that I used for this quilt is Anna Maria Horner fabric. The one that you saw on the front was, I believe, I'm not really sure, but I believe it was her very first line. I purchased it when my youngest son, who is now 10, was still a baby, so I guess it must be 10 years ago, with the intention of making a quilt for my mom. I never did that for several reasons. I was scared to cut into the very expensive fabric and ruin it. I wasn't a quilter. I'm still not a quilter, but I did not have any experience. I didn't know what pattern to use, and so I just had this little teeny plastic bag with the fat quarters. I purchased a fat quarter bundle at that time, sitting in my fabric stash, looking at me, and I never did anything with it. Until the beginning of this year, I'm not getting younger. My parents are definitely not getting younger. And for some reason, something changed for me this year. I decided I would set myself goals and try to achieve them. That's what people do when they set goals. But somehow it looks like I'm actually, the way I track them, the way I work on them, seems to be working for me right now. And I finished this quilt. And I'm so, so happy about it. So I am going home and seeing my mom on Thursday. That is in 3 days from now. And I cannot wait to see her face. You cannot believe how happy I am that I finally was able to make this. I love giving gifts, and this is just the best. So I feel like I have already accomplished all of my goals for 2019, and it's only the end of April. Yay me! So the quilt pattern is Prism by Alison Glass. I changed it. I purchased the pattern. I found that I had one more color combination than what was given in the pattern. And so I adapted the quilt dimensions a bit to this new length of the quilt. I tried to adapt it to a regular blanket size that you could actually cover yourself in it. You could use it for a throw on your on a single bed. I don't even know how these things are called here in the States. For one person to sleep in a bed that is a single person bed, you could use that for it. The backing is also Anna Maria Horner fabric. It is a newer one, and it's a totally different feeling than the front. The brown fabric is Essex linen, and it is just the most beautiful fabric ever. So I pieced the top, I pieced the backing, I purchased quilt bedding, and then I contacted a long arm quilter that lives in my area and asked her if she would be able to quilt it for me, which was the biggest reason why I never started it. I knew that I am not as experienced in quilting as I would love to be for this quilt, and so that is let me rephrase or collect my thoughts. The minute I knew I was going, my friend knew someone, and I could contact that long arm quilter. Piecing the quilt and then finally getting it done was a piece of cake. I spent a Saturday piecing the front. I spent a Saturday creating the panel. I spent another Saturday piecing the front and back. I then brought it to the long arm quilter, and then I took me another 3 not full days, but 3 days I sat and hand bound the quilt. I attached the quilt binding with my sewing machine to one side, folded it over, and stitched it on by hand. And yeah, several hours were spent on hand binding, but I think my mom receives that kind of love, is worthy of that kind of time and love that went into this quilt. So after I spent 11 minutes talking about my one finished object, which was not knitting but sewing, let's move on to my knitting projects, and let me tell you about the progress that I made. My progress on the Stillwater Cardigan by Marie Green is, I think, the most visible. I have passed the sleeve divide. Let me hold it up for you right here. This is the very first time I am knitting a garment for myself. So I put those on. I just filmed another video, the no spend video, and I purchased myself the interchangeable needles from Chiaogu as a reward in February. Now I wouldn't do that anymore. But I'm happy that I did. I put the sleeves onto those cables that I have here. But I am really curious to see how this will work out in the end. I have these huge stitches. I don't know if you can see this. Ooh. Yeah, me and coordination and knowing where to go. No, not this way, this way. Can you see that big, huge gap in this stitch? Yeah, I guess I will find out what happens and when I'm starting to pick up stitches for, or well, I'm picking up stitches along down here, right? Yeah. So when I'm picking up stitches, I will probably just Google or YouTube what I can do about this. I consider this an experiment. I am using, okay, let me rephrase. So this is the progress that I made. I am super in love. I'm working on this constantly at the moment because I really do want to start another cardigan, and I cannot start another project until I finish one of those. I mean, yes, knitting socks is much easier, but another thing, since I'm knitting, this is my very first garment, it doesn't really make sense to start another one until I'm done and I can actually try it on and see how it fits. Especially, I purchased her book, Seamless Knit Sweaters in 2 weeks, and she's also announcing a 4-day knit along, which I'm never gonna do in 4 days. But those cardigans that are in there and the 4-day knit along are things that I'm considering. However, again, it doesn't make sense if I haven't finished to start a pattern by the same designer if I don't know if the way she sizes and designs her stuff actually fits me. Yeah, so that's why I'm working on this constantly to get it to a size that I can try it on and start another one. I am using Garden Studio Drops. That's how I pronounce it as a German. Oh gosh, Lima. Yes, I am very uncoordinated when it comes to talking to myself in the mirror, and filming myself like this is exactly that way. So I'm using this yarn. I have had this in my stash again as well for a very long time. I think almost as long as the fabric for my mom's quilt. I had to purchase more yarn, but it was cheaper in the long run to just add more yarn from the same brand and color. It's obviously not the same dye lot than to purchase a whole new set of, or a whole new sweater's quantity worth of yarn. So I'm considering this just, it didn't cost a lot of money. And so whatever happens, I will see how this turns out. I don't know if, well, the lighting isn't really that great. It is sometimes when the light, yeah, you can see it right now. Oops, here. I think I decided, well, I didn't know about this before. I could have started the sweater with 2 balls of yarn and swapped every row, so you would not see the different dye lots. I think you can see the line right here. However, considering that this yarn, one of the yarns is 10 years old, the other one is not, the color difference is not as obvious, and sometimes you don't even really see it. When I look at it from here, I might see it, I might notice it, but it's not in your face noticeable. And so I am totally okay with, I'm swapping balls of yarn, so it's gonna be a little bit striped. That's okay. Again, this is a test thing to see if I can actually finish a garment, how it fits. So that's totally fine. Um, yeah, I think I left this Progress Keeper, which was a planner charm in his other former life. This is when I filmed my last yarn talk, so you can see I really added a lot of rows to this. And I hope by next time I will see you, I have already finished the body, maybe started on the arms, we will see. So that is my second project, or my first main project that I'm working on right now. I keep it in this project bag. It is an open wide zipper pouch. However, it is a snug fit, and since I'm going away, I think I'm going to change it in that's the medium size. I think I made it higher, but the width of the project bag is a medium size open wide zipper pouch by Noodlehead 531. Is that what her Instagram name is? I will leave links to the pattern in the description box below. So that is another Anna Maria Horner fabric, and I just used it recently. I purchased that fabric 2 years ago. I should have used it much earlier, but I'm happy that I was able to make a project bag from it. I love using these kinds of cut-offs as these zipper pulls. I love how that looks, and it's not garbage, it's a piece of art. Stillwater Cardigan. The next project that I'm working on is the Second Avenue wrap by Amy Miller, if I'm right. And it is a really laugh with me, please. Don't roll your eyes. She's called Amy Miller. I have seen this on my friend Babette Marie's Instagram, and that's why I started it in the first place. And then my friend Tina, who lives close by, told me that she had already also been working on this, and so I just went ahead and purchased yarn. I think this was the progress that I was on. I'm definitely going to move them because it's really cool to see how much I have been able to knit in between podcasts, YouTube episodes. This is where I left off when I filmed last time. I added quite a bit. I love working on it when I don't have the brain ability to do especially when I was working on the increases for the arms and the back and the front, which since I'm past the sleeve divide, the Stillwater Cardigan is also really easy. There's only like 10 and 10, 20 stitches that you need to pay attention, and so it's not really that hard anymore. But when this was a nice, I'm too brain damaged to think knit, and now I'm on the, like kind of this section, but I still have a lot of stripes to go, and I'm thinking of, since I haven't packed for my flights and stuff and my travel, I know that I'm going to be flying and I'm going to use the train twice during the time that I'm away. I'm thinking of what am I going to take. I definitely am going to take my cardigan, and then I don't know, is it okay to take 4 different projects? Well, actually 5, or should I be more reasonable? So I might leave this at home. The winter is far away and I don't need this wrap right now. So that's okay. I think I talked about this project back in my last episode, but I'm hoping I'm gaining new viewers and followers. So this is a embroidery that my friend Anne from Gretelis, she's a German artist. She's not doing any open publicly and selling her stuff anymore, but this is what she designed. When I saw her 7 years ago, maybe, she embroidered this for me. I never used it. And again, I'm at a phase in my life where I feel like I need to use the things that I love, and so I made a project bag from it. The bag fabric is, yeah, it's okay. It matches the front, but it's not my favorite. But it totally works, and I love those. You can't really pick up the stripes, can you? Yeah, now you can. Here. This is the striped jeans. I love those as bottoms for these kinds of bags. And again, I just used a scrap of this jean fabric to make it's not a zipper pull. What is it? Stopper? It's just finishing off the zipper and something to hold onto while you open it. And what I really love about this, those sewing patterns, it's another open wide pouch, have been around for years, and I never dared to make one because you have to let the zipper run out of the pouch like this. But it makes such a huge difference in how wide you can open the pouch. I'm never ever going to go back and sewing the zipper into my pouch like this. I mean, this is amazing. So that's why you need this stopper for the zipper to go all the way back. And then you can open it all the way and open it up and rummage through this pouch. I have this awesome fabric on the inside. I do not stabilize my pouches very much. I use Pellon SF101 as a stabilizer, but I do not like them being really squishy and stiff. I love them very slouchy. So I can put them away. I can squish them into my bag. They do not take up much space. They are not very heavy. So I really like that. What I also want to mention is I have one of those notepads from Coco Daisy in each of my pouches, as well as a pencil. So I can take notes when I do not bring my knitting journal. And then I can transfer anything that is notable into there for future reference. So here, that's my Second Avenue wrap. I frogged the socks from last time and cast on 2 different patterns. Let's do this one. Unfortunately, I do not know what this yarn is. I purchased it when a local yarn store went out of business when I was still living in Germany. It did not have a, what do you call those belly bands? And so I unfortunately don't know if it's 100% wool. It feels like it. It does not feel like, well, maybe it is superwash, but it doesn't feel like it has nylon in it. I am super tempted, and I started this. This is where's the sock pattern? Yes. These are the Stumptown Socks by Shannon Squire Designs. Most of the knitting patterns that I'm using have been recommended to me by my friend Tina. I'm not a new knitter I have just started to learn how to knit, but I am a new knitter to American patterns. I am new to patterns at all. The only thing I did before was knitting socks, plain vanilla socks, and I didn't even know that they were called vanilla socks. I usually knit my socks on DPNs, and this is all new to me, and it's super exciting. I love the color of this yarn. It totally looks like fall to me. This could be a forest. Okay, this way here. I love it. I love the color so much. And it also, I have realized by looking at colors on Ravelry, and maybe I'm the only one, I'm not really someone who loves speckles and variegated yarn, but this one knits up really nicely. I really like how this yarn cake translates into the fabric that I get through knitting. I just started my first, there is a little pattern on those Stumptown socks and they are flying geese. You can't really see it. It's a triangle down here. Well, see, I'm trying to follow the V, but I'm now I'm trying to tell you which way I'm going and I'm going the wrong direction. Maybe I should concentrate on going the wrong direction, then it goes the right direction. There is the V, but it's not really very visible right now. I purchased those stitch markers on Amazon. There's like a gazillion were in there for $8 because I had like really pretty ones, but they are too tiny and they make the knitting harder. So I marked the first sock that I'm starting on. This is the beginning of the round here, and yeah, I'm trying to knit them 2 at a time. This is how I would love to knit all my socks in the future. Yeah, I have those on hold as well as the other ones, as I am concentrating on the sweater, but again, I don't really know if I want to take them. I know the stitches, I don't need to look them up or anything, but yeah. So those, and really enjoy the knit. I really enjoy the pattern, and I cannot wait to see how this evolves. I made this pouch as well. It's another wee bra bag. I love them for these little tiny projects like socks. They are amazing. The pattern comes in 2 sizes, and I'm using the bigger one. And I'm planning to. There's 2 sizes in the pattern, as I mentioned, and I'm trying to see what it looks like if I just enlarge this size as well, because I can imagine that a little bit bigger would look cool too. And then you could put in a shawl or something like that. So when I knit my plain vanilla socks on DPN needles, I usually cast on 64 stitches. My shoe size is huge. I have a size 42 in European sizes, and I think it's a women's 12 in American sizes. Not sure. Huge. And so that worked really well. And now with this pattern, since let me start. I have read that even though you might be using 64 stitches on DPNs, even though the needle size is the same, when you are knitting magic loop 2 at a time, your gauge could be different, and so it might not be the same stitches that you would need. And so yes, I followed the pattern. I looked where my 64 stitches were, and I feel like it's kind of loose, so I'm not sure. I'm planning on knitting more so that I can fit in my toe and part of my foot, and to see if it's too loose, if I should frog them and restart with a smaller stitch count, or if it's still okay and I can keep on going. But that is something that I am very curious to know, if you need to change the stitch numbers of your socks when you knit on different kinds of needles. Not size needles, but same or similar yarn with a different knitting needle. Magic loop versus DPNs. This one is same fabric as this one. I really, even though I like this, I love how this looks. That's why I would love to make this in bigger. So I kind of really, this appeals to me more than this. Yeah, love how this looks. I don't really have a use for those pockets here, but maybe they will come in handy at a later date. In my last video, I mentioned that I was going to cast on for the Milky chai socks. I always called them chai tea latte socks or something. They are Milky chai socks. The designer is Danielle Jorge. That's how I would pronounce it. Not sure if that's how you say it. I'm very sorry. It's really hard to pronounce names the English way. So I'm pronouncing her name the way I would pronounce them if I was German, which I am. So that's what I have so far. Let me check. I think I'm done with, yes, I am done with the cuffs, and I will need to start on the frothy milk pattern. That's what it's called. The stitches aren't that hard. I will just need to sit down and do it. And again, as I said, I just want to keep on working on Stillwater, but I learned the stitches while working on Stillwater, so I could actually just continue working on those. I'm not sure if I want to take them. So, I was on those socks. I don't know if I want to take all of my projects. If you have any recommendation, and if I get this edited and up before I leave a comment in the comment section below. I am using yarn. Let me check what yarn I'm using. I mentioned it in the last one, but I don't remember what it's called. I have it in my journal. So I am using a B6 notebook. I put it in a leather cover from Mystic's Little Gifts. I really like her. They are very hardy. Her notebooks are not all of them are hardy, but the one that I purchased here, that is a very hardy one. It's called Carbon. I purchased it secondhand. I have another planner charm on it, and I love the way it goes with this gray leather color. It's I really like it, and I like the format of the B6 for this kind of journal, so I'm using it. And this is an ongoing thing. I'm using online Super Sock, and in the Indian color scheme, colorway, this is kind of like a, look at this, a very self-striping yarn that I feel like the stripes, well, now they are kind of obvious, but I feel they are very muted, laid back, and I really like the color with the topic of the chai, even though I feel like chai is more brown, greenish thing. This totally reminds me of chai, and that's why I used those. I can totally see how this works with the pattern and how it makes the pattern look good. Because I don't want the yarn colors to overpower the pattern, it doesn't make sense to put so much work into the pattern. And unfortunately, this is a really dark black and white picture. Okay, this way and closer. And it has the frothy milk pattern right here, and then it goes down to the... I'm not showing anything on camera anymore with my fingers because I'm just not going to succeed. This is what they look like, and I don't want the yarn colors to overpower the stitches, because then I could have just knit plain vanilla socks. It's in this bag. It's a we brought back, and then I just have one last thing to share. This is a really, really old knitting bag. I made this one when I was knitting 8 years ago. I was knitting on socks, and this one is, I don't even remember what the pattern is called. It's a German pattern. It has, usually it had a hole right here that you would be able to loop your yarn through, and then you would have your yarn coming out the side. You could put your project in the top, and this would make it so much easier. I didn't add the hole. I just liked the flap. It was really nice to showcase big patterns, prints, and then you would be able to, I used this, I don't even know what this is called in English. I purchased this as 3 things, and I loved how this went onto the flap, and then I closed it with a snap. And what I don't really like about this is that, as you can see, the bottom is really huge, but the opening here is quite small, and it looks nice, but it's not very handy and practicable. Praktikabel in Deutsch. It's not very user-friendly. So what I have in here is, hold on, I've been watching podcasts, knitting podcasts, and looking for people who are knitting, who make knitting podcasts. And the first one I found was the Yarn Hoarder podcast. And I've watched her YouTube episodes, and in one she mentioned the Scrubby dishcloth yarn from Red Heart, and I thought that was such a neat idea as a gift for my family. We all have all we want and need, and there's nothing here that you cannot get over there. And so it's really I want to, when I see them, I want to like, hey, I have a gift for you, but I don't want to make anything or bring anything that they don't need. And they don't really want either. And so maybe they don't really want this either, but they totally need it. It's a dish scrubby, and I made one as a test one, and I used it, and it works awesomely, and it is washable. So yeah, if you had told me 3 weeks ago that I was going to crochet Scrubbies, then I would have told you were crazy and out of your mind, because I would never ever do anything similar to this. It takes about 20 minutes to make one of those. My ambitions are to make, and see, they're not even the same size. The pattern that I'm using, I also got from the Yarn Hoarder podcast recommendation. It's called Nylon Net Scrubby Tutorial, and what the woman in this uses is nylon net. Is there another name for that? I don't know what it's called. It's like this really, and the way she writes her pattern is based on the way you create the yarn using the nylon net. So she tells you once you reached the 5th knot in your yarn, which I don't have, then you start decreasing again, and I just don't. I just eyeball it, and I'm totally happy with the way they turned out. I really like the size of this one, but then people who have tinier hands would totally be okay with this one. This one fits nicer in my hand, and I can actually use it better. So I'm aiming at sizes like this, but if it turns out like that, that's okay too. I'm holding it double. I'm actually just following what Amber said in her podcast. She uses this double. I have this variegated one and this teal one, and I actually went ahead and ordered another 2 skeins, because I would love to give each one of my siblings and my mom 2 of those. I have made 3, and this is so, since I have 3 sisters and 1 brother and a mom, it's 5, makes 10. I don't think I can get 10 out of this and this, so I definitely need more. I am using a crochet hook. The pattern recommends a size K crochet hook, and I'm pretty close with the one that I have. I didn't buy one. I just used the biggest one I had, and it's quite big. And then the last, so that was all the things I am working on right now. 5 different things. I added the dish scrubbies because they are really quick. I think I can actually make them on the flight there. Don't want to do that because I'm planning on making 2 each day, so I should have like 1 or 2 left to make while I'm traveling. This is a Delfonics utility pouch. I have found these pouches through my planner thing on Instagram. Everyone, it feels like it, has one of those. I have one in the bigger size M that I use in my backpack as a pouch for things that I need for journaling, but also for my personal, like hand sanitizer, lip gloss. What else do I have? Headache medicine, stuff like that is all in there. I take it out and I can put it anywhere else, and everything that I need goes with me. I'm not worried if I have everything in my bag. I just take the pouch and move it over. My planner fits in there, and it's awesome. And so I felt like I needed a pouch for all of my knitting and crocheting utensils. I had one that I made before and it didn't really work, but this one, since it has such a wide, see this gap here or this size here, it fits lots of things that I use. And I added this enamel pin. It's a roller skate, and this totally reminds me of my childhood. Mine didn't look as pretty as those unicorn ones, but yeah, I want to add more and more, but I'm waiting for maybe when I purchase one for knitting that could go here. I absolutely love what I have in here. I have these, I purchased those a couple of years ago when I thought I would put snacks for my kids in there. Nope. You can put maybe 1 goldfish in here, but it's a great storage for stitch markers. And I have designer ones from A Needle Runs Through It here. I purchased the California ones and the Harry Potter ones, and they're all in here. I lost one of those last week at the baseball game. It fell through the bleachers and gone. I have those, and those are actually my favorite now. Those look like safety pins. They're plastic, but you can, what I don't like about those is that they are, you can't open them. I can't clip them on, so maybe I will transform some of those as progress keepers. I have lobster claws for charm and jewelry making, and so I can just add a lobster claw to the ring, and then it could be a progress keeper. But those work really, really nicely as stitch markers. They're super cheap. I got a whole bunch of them. I just took out some of the colors that I received and put them in here because the box is almost as big as the whole pouch. I have other stitch markers, but I'm gonna put them back. I don't need to take them with me. Those are totally enough. And then I also got those. I really love those as well. Let me see if I can show them to you here. They are also just a circle with one of those rhinestones or beads. I love how they look like, but they're too small for many of the needles that I use. So they look cute, but they're not as usable and versatile as those. So if you are, as me, a starting knitter, those are definitely the ones to go because they're more versatile. And then once you have stuff and you have budget and you can spend stuff on pretty things, some of those are really good to get. I have a gauge thingy. I have different ones, and I have a nice one that is a lot prettier than this one, but this one fits in here very nicely, so I'm definitely going to take this one with me. Hand lotion. My hands are so super dry, and when I knit and the yarn gets tangled with my skin, so I have hand lotion. And if you have a recommendation, this one, I don't really like this one that much. I use it because it works okay, but I still feel like I could use something more moisturizing. If you have a recommendation, I would love to hear it. I have a really tiny needle from Prism. Oh, that reminds me, most of those needles that I own from Prism, I don't know if you can see it. It looks like skin that is shedding. They come apart like that, and I have some that are super sticky and the skin is peeling off. And I sent them an email, and they told me to send all of the needles that have this issue in to their customer service, and I'm definitely going to take them with me to Germany and send them from there and have the return address be my mom's, because I'm sure they won't send overseas. So I have this one for fixing stitches, and then I have another pencil. Do you remember those from, again, our childhood? I got one from a friend. I love those, and I just put it in here for, again, if I need to take notes, I need something. And then I have a highlighter, and I noticed that it's super good to use a highlighter in the printed patterns, especially when it's for different sizes, with the socks, for instance, and to highlight the numbers that pertain to you and your size. That is cool. To mark the pattern, it's easier to find your way along the pattern. And then I usually have, which I don't, I have these corks in here. I don't really need them anymore, but when I used DPNs, I added them to the front and back so that my stitches wouldn't fall off. And then I have stitch counters, and I think that's, oh yes, and I also have one of those. That's also a recent purchase. I purchased like 6 of them for $5 on Amazon and put them everywhere because the only measuring tape that I have has centimeters, and I need inches now. I usually do have scissors. Oh, here, these tiny scissors in here. I'm not sure if I can take those on the plane to Germany, but what I just noticed is that if I need to cut a thread, there is a cutter right in here, so I don't even need to risk taking those with me. But everything that I just showed you fits nicely in there, and there's even more space for other things that I don't know I might need in the future. Love this. I will leave a link in the description box below to Amazon if you want to get one too. I didn't get a very loud color for the reason that I really like this beigey khaki brown color for my future enamel pins. They will pop from this so nicely. Okay, so I think that is all that I have to share. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I had so much fun filming this episode. I will definitely keep going, and I hope there is people out there who love watching. And if you are watching, leave a comment below and say hi. Tell me where you're from, what you're working on. I would love to connect with you. I feel like talking to a friend, and I left all my information in the description box below. Hope to see you soon. Until then, bye. And I will definitely let you know what my mom's reaction was when she received her quilt. I cannot wait to give it to her. See you next time. Bye.